Studies show that over half of all American adults have reported some sign of depression, stress, anxiety, or loneliness. And a lot of that is because we haven't been able to come together as a community, as a society, and find common ground with things like spirituality, politics, relationships, culture, all these things that seek to divide us. I guarantee you, there's one thing that we are all missing. And in this video, I'm going to tell you the secret to A, becoming more human, and B, unlock the doors that will lead to your success in this life. Let's dive right in. In this world, there is a lot of either or. You're poor or you're rich. You're famous or you're a nobody. You're confident or you're insecure. There's no in between. I think Katy Perry said it best when she said, you're hot and you're cold, you're yes and you're no, you're in and you're out, you're up and you're down. You're wrong when it's right, you're black when it's white, we fight and break up, we kiss and make up. There's no middle ground. There's no gray area. But the truth of the matter is that people are complex. Humans are complex. Society is complex. And more than ever before, there has been a little bit more of a both and approach when it comes to so many things like politics, when it comes to health, when it comes to overall well-being, when it comes to finances, when it comes to relationships. There's a little bit of both. There's a little bit of a mixture, melting pot, if you will. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some things that should just be baseline. There are some things that should just be common courtesy and common decency. But the beauty of life is that we are all not the same. If we were the same, we'd be a bunch of robots. And I don't know about you, but I'm not that metallic, okay? The house that you grew up in is on a very specific street, on a very specific side of town, in a very specific city, country, part of the world. You have very specific siblings, if you have siblings. You have very specific parents or guardians. You have very specific friends. You went to a specific school. You went to a specific church. You went to a specific community group. All these things. All these things have made up the totality of who you are. And the danger is the moment we start saying this or that, we put people in boxes that don't actually represent who they are. So being real honest here, I grew up in a household with baby boomer parents. Mind you, that is two generations in between me and my parents. Like 35 years between me and my parents. And so there's a lot of difference that goes on there, right? Already there's a generational gap that brings us into new ways of thinking about religion. I grew up in a very old-fashioned, Black Christian household. Went to church, was very dedicated there. I've moved to Nashville. I go to a different type of church. I've been around small groups of people that are more so my age when I didn't really have a Bible study that was just around my age. It was always me as a teenager and then a lot of little kids, or people were like going in and out or maybe graduating or moving or things of that nature. So there's a little bit there that I have. So even that change has morphed the way that I think about religion and spirituality and things of that nature. Politics. Now, I'm not gonna get into politics right now because I feel like even the word politics just makes everybody's brain just like fizzle a little bit. It's a little bit intense to talk about that right now. But again, I come from a very old-fashioned household that thinks a certain way about things, about money, about family, about way of life. But then as a Gen Zer who's grown up on technology, who literally had his formative years through movements like Me Too, Black Lives Matter movement, things of that nature, and being in college and kind of seeing a little bit more of the world and doing all those things. My social issues that I tend to focus on, or my way of thinking about certain things, has also been informed with that, right? So sometimes there can even be competing ideas between what I've learned and what I know, between what I've learned and what I experience, right? Even my own self-image, I definitely thought about my way a certain way as a kid. I thought I was just the biggest entertainer. I wanted to be all out and in everybody's face, which technically hasn't morphed that much between then and now, but it has looked a little bit different. In middle and high school, I feel like I was a lot nerdier or geekier, if you will. A weird phase in my early teen years, and then when I got to college, I wanted to be, you know, more of like the genuine, like kind of all around guy that everybody knows and I know everybody else, you know. And even right now, I'm even slightly rebranding myself once again as a young adult. And what does that mean? And so as you go through different phases of life, you change. The only constant thing in this world and in this life is change. And honestly, I'm grateful that I'm not the same person 5 years ago that I am right now. People go through seasons of their life. And of course, there are some things that I know that have always been the same for me. I believe, number one, that every human, every single human, deserves a baseline of respect, dignity, and opportunity. Every single one. Now, if they choose to go along with that or not, and use it for the right reasons, that's up to them. And if they don't, then you have your consequences. Simple as that. But starting off the bat, I feel like every human has a baseline of decency, humanity, integrity, and opportunity. I also truly believe that though there are moments that are not bright, I do believe that there is a bright spot in every situation. Now, part of that is informed by my faith, but I do think just in general, there are always more than one side to things. And I'm not saying that things just aren't bad or things just aren't good, but I do think that it does give you perspective on a lot of things. I think that's a better way of saying it. And there's always more than one angle to look at something with. Even in the worst of times, there are some things that have grown up out of that. Some resilience, some strength, some, ingenuity, some wisdom or innovation. Like, there are good things, whether you see them immediately or down the road, that come out of many different situations, right? I truly believe that life is not meant to be monotone. It's not meant to be just this, that, and the third, but you're actually supposed to have some fun. You're supposed to have experiences, and you're supposed to build community, and you're supposed to experience this great, amazing thing that we've been given access to, right? And so again, these are some basic things. I believe that if you are consistent in the things that you are striving for, if you're consistent in the things that are prioritized for you, then sooner or later, by you showing up, by you putting in the work, by you having that routine, sooner or later you will walk into what you've always wanted. And to be honest, that could be either good or bad. But what you do often results in what you become. I feel like we should take care of our world. A lot of people have their own opinions on sustainability and environmentalism and climate change and all that stuff. We're not getting into all that. I just think if we are entrusted with something, we should take care of it. And if you don't take care of it, I guess he didn't want it in the first place. It's core values plus a both and mentality. And what do I mean by that? I mean that there are some baseline things that we should agree on. And then on top of that, we need to realize that people are more complex and nuanced than we give them credit for. I think when you have conversations with people that you may or may not disagree with, you tend to learn a little bit more about yourself. You tend to learn more about that person. You tend to learn more about the world around you and all those things. But that doesn't happen until we focus and until we nail down what those core values are first. We have to hold multiple truths. We have to hold multiple truths. Let me say it one more time. Maturity occurs when you can hold multiple truths at one time. It is possible for you to accept this and decline that. It is okay for you to know a lot about this, yet not know a lot about that. And I know that sometimes that's real dangerous, that's real here or there. But remember, you have to start with the core values. The moment we can implement this both and approach, the moment that we can live in the tension, live in the nuance, live in the conversation, I'm not saying to compromise. I'm not saying to shift your values all the time. I'm not saying to accept something that doesn't line up with what you know to be true. There has to be some sort of baseline, and upon that is where we build. Upon that is where we find our difference. Upon that is where we see the nuance and complexity of humanity. But that can't happen until the baseline is restored. So what are you saying, Marcus? We've got to restore the baseline. Oh, that sun is coming in. Hold on. We have forgotten what the baseline is. We have forgotten what respect looks like. We have forgotten what humanity looks like. We have forgotten what decency looks like. I actually talk about this a little bit more in my TEDx Youth Talk that I did in 2023, all about what it means to embrace humanity in an artificial world. If you haven't seen the TEDx Youth Talk, I'm gonna link it right down there below. Feel free after this video to go and watch it. Let me know what you think, comment down below, all the things. But again, I think that if we can get back to the basics, if we can restore the baseline, if we can come up with some sort of common ground, I think everything that is added onto that just comes down to how we live our lives each and every single day. You are unique, and that is okay. Listen, I just want you to send this video to somebody who may or may not share the same values as you, but who is looking for that sense of common ground, that sense of shared humanity. Send this video to them, tell them Marcus the Knight sent you, and again, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I've had these thoughts on my mind for I don't know how long, and I'm hoping that this blessed you just a little bit. My name is Marcus the Knight, your boy, your best friend, and until next time, I'll see you soon. Peace.